That's you right there, Billy. That's you. You see your lips? Yep, that's you. Hey everybody, Scott here, Scotty's Animals. So I've been on those Facebook groups, message boards, the guinea pig groups, and I've been seeing this a lot. People are asking, what kind of space heater should I use to keep my animals warm? Or, what kind of heating system should I use? Now, some of you out there might have central heating and air conditioning, but I live in an old house with brick, and that's just not really possible unless I want to hook up all these external vents and ducts to the rafters, and I already got enough animals. I meant ducks. Just kidding. But in all seriousness, how do you keep your piggies warm if you have them in the corner or if you have a dedicated room for your animals? So this video, I just wanted to show my setup and explain a little bit the logic behind what my setup is. So I'm gonna just show you guys right here. So I have a radiator. Now you can get a radiator just like you would get a space heater, but when you think of a radiator, you might be thinking about one of those things that you would see in an old house. Now it's basically the same thing. My radiator it's just filled with a kind of oil liquid, and it heats up and it radiates heat. It doesn't have a fan, and it's not like those heating space heaters that you might see. Of course, space heaters themselves come in a different type of variety, like, there's the disc ones that have a coil element. There's a variety of different ones that may or may not have a fan built into them. But when I was doing my research, what I found was that those space heaters actually really dry the air, and that's been my experience. And what I love about this radiator, or radiators in general, is they don't seem to dry the air, and also they are extremely safe. Now, my radiator has never tipped over, but a lot of these smaller space heaters are prone to tipping over, and of course they have usually an emergency shutoff or a little sensor on the foot of the space heater that when you tip it over, it stops, it turns off. But what I have found, the two biggest benefits of this type of heating element is that, number one, it doesn't seem to dry the air out, and number two, it's really, really safe. So you combine that with the fact that I can get this thing really cranking. Even when it's in the 30s outside, I can get it up close to 80, even sometimes more. Sometimes I'll have to turn it down, but I get this thing cranking and I can easily get it 75 degrees. So what else do I do? You can see right down here, and I'll show in a little bit better detail. I like to use my radiator in combination with my humidifier. So this little humidifier, I did a review about it. I'll try to find that review, put it right there. But this humidifier is really great. It can really change the humidity. I have a humidifying gauge and a thermometer over here so that I can tell what the temperature and what the humidity is in this room. And I've seen this humidifier, even though it's small, boost my humidity levels up to 20% in just 30 minutes to an hour. And if I leave this thing cranking all day, I can get it swampy in here. Now, I live in the desert, and a lot of times we have 10% humidity or less. And right now I'm looking at almost 40% humidity in this room, which is still dry, but it is the winter, and it has been dipping down into the 30s. But right now it is 72 degrees, and it is almost 40% humidity. So a very comfortable environment for me and for my piggies. So let's take a little bit closer look at this radiator. So here you can see my complete setup at work. Now, my fan is just blowing, and this fan can raise and lower depending on where I want to move the heat to. And this is my radiator right here. I've got it in a cage built out of grids because I didn't want my bird to land on it. And actually, sometimes he will sit right here and warm his footsies. So this is the Polanis radiator, and I will definitely put a link in the description. And I've had no problems with it. I've had it running for, I think, 3 or 4 years now, maybe more, this exact same model, and it is fantastic. You know, I just put it away in the closet in the summertime, and I bust it out when it starts to get cold, and it has been fantastic. And like I say, this is a safe option, and it really cranks the heat. You can see these ribs right here. This is what circulates it's an oil inside there that circulates and stays warm. This thing's really easy to use. It's got 3 settings, and it's got what I guess you'd consider to be a thermostat. When you crank it up, it will make the room hotter, and when you lower it down, it will actually shut off at times, and so it won't be so hot. It will just, this thing basically just regulates the temperature. But of course you have 3 settings, so if it's a really, really cold night, I put it on 3 and I turn that all the way up. If it starts to get a little warmer, you know, the next day I might put that down to 3/4 or half. But if it starts to get even warmer, I might flip it down to 2 or down to 1, and then I'll put that back up at about 3/4 of the way, or maybe even full. So I think it just works really well. So let's take a look at this humidifier here. This is the Levoit humidifier. I can't see through all the mist. This thing also works really well and is really simple to use. So it has 3 levels. So there's off, there's level 1, level 2, and level 3. And you can definitely distinctly see different levels of power. But what also is kind of sexy about this thing is it has if you flip it this way, you just get the humidifier. But if you flip it this way, it's got this kind of nifty night light. And it actually will brighten up the room when it's dark in here at night. If sometimes I'll put it on the wrong setting, instead of this way, I'll put it this way. And when I turn off all the lights in the house, the light is blasting through the window, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm just going to leave it cranking. If I have it all the way up, this amount of water usually lasts maybe 3 to 5 hours or so. But if I put it on setting 1 or 2, then it actually will go all day or all night without me having to refill it. But if I blast this thing on full blast, it gives me about 3, 4, 5 hours or so. And you can fill this thing all the way to the top. So a really sleek design, really simple to use. And I imagine that they have a larger size. I'll go check out and see some other size options, but I'm really happy with this brand. It's really simple to use. So you just lift this up and you tip it upside down, unscrew this part, fill it, and then you're good to go. You just put it back on, and this thing cranks. It's a beast. And so I usually like to have the fan blowing, or I'll put this thing, I'll position it so it's kind of near the fan or behind the fan. But the combination of the humidifier and the radiator and the fan, and it's really nice in here, really comfortable. And you can see it's just about 72 degrees and almost 40% humidity. And I actually had this thing turned off for a few minutes, because I was using the same outlet for the light. And you can see how cold it is. It really, the temperature dropped down. But when I have this thing cranking, I can keep this thing at a really nice 72, 75. I also have it hooked up to a timer, but right now it's on full blast because it's so cold all the time. So that is my radiator and my humidifier, and of course I've got a simple fan that moves the air around. This type of radiator doesn't blow the air around, and so if you just left it to its own devices, a lot of that heat would rise straight up. But when I place my fan in front of it, I can sort of direct where that hot air will go, or make sure that it is distributing evenly throughout the room. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. I will put links for my humidifier and my radiator in the description, and of course clicking on those links will help benefit me and the animals. So I hope you will at least check out these links and maybe find a solution that's right for you. All right, until next time, thanks for watching.